Gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Temple, how does piracy affect the type of films that might be financed or produced? Any opinion on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Unfortunately, piracy does affect the variety of films that might be produced because you know, it costs so much money to be able to produce a film that you want to make sure that that film will actually be able to get back its revenue. If a film is pirated, if it's an indie film or a niche film, then the revenue that is going to be affected by piracy will even be lower. So unfortunately, that means that you often might see a few more of those blockbusters and those sequels and series types of films, because those you know are going to have a large amount of revenue versus being able to have a wider variety of types of films. And it really does, I think, impact minority filmmakers and independent filmmakers because they are not able as much as some of the larger studios to prevent the piracy that is going on.
Yeah, so the studios are more or less likely to take a risk on a film knowing that the prevalence of that piracy might be related to the content. Does that
Exactly.
sound accurate?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, very good. Mr. McKnight, the area that you've been discussing is fascinating to me, I think to many other people, because of the live stream angle. What financial impact does copyright privacy, do you have any idea what impact it has on the live sports industry per se? Ballpark or any kind of estimate on that?
So we've done studies. You can't do it with exactitude, obviously, because you can't say every single person who looks at a pirate stream is going to convert to a paying consumer.
Right.
Even if you take very conservative numbers, 1 out of 5, you get into tens, to hundreds of millions of dollars in losses. And as Ranking Member Johnson correctly pointed out, the real problem here is a lot of people view this as victimless crimes, but the lack of these resources aren't just affecting an inanimate entity or the wealthy members of that entity. They're also people downstream. They're the athletes, they're people who work the cameras, people who work in just very basic jobs, like in the production crew, driving trucks and doing things of that nature, all of whom are impacted by this loss in revenue.
The other thing I would say is, as someone who, you brought up Conor McGregor, and I've seen a few of his fights, and oftentimes, that results in somebody kind of organizing a party or bringing a group of people together to watch that. And so have you looked at the consumer end of it? Are people aware oftentimes that they may be not on an official site, but on a pirated site? What do people, how do they gauge where they're going to seek their entertainment or a live stream of a sporting event?
So I think people are aware. I think the real issue is, like I said, they view it as somewhat of a victimless crime. If you go on, a social media platform, for example, and someone uploads a UFC fight, you go and you click on the link, you don't view yourself as doing anything inappropriate. What you think you're doing is, getting free access to an event you enjoy, and that the wealthy UFC won't miss the money that's they could be obtaining as a result of a legitimate purchase. But when you multiply that thought process by hundreds of millions of times, obviously the dollars get significant, and then you have that cascading effect on everyone involved up and down the stream of producing that event that I had mentioned before. So I do think they know. They certainly know in the case of folks who are going to the professional pirates, and paying cut rates that are advertising sometimes on the social media platforms, essentially saying, don't buy the event from the UFC, come here and get it for free. And they're doing it in ways that I think it's readily, easily to identify that you're not doing something proper.
In a lot of commercial settings, whether it be a bar or a restaurant or some place where they're actually using it to kind of bring people to their restaurant or their place of business. Have you guys looked at that angle of it? Is this something that's happening and is a violation?
So we do look at that, and we do have commercial licensing agreements with many of these establishments that are showing it at bars and things of that nature, and we have ways to police it when people, are showing it without paying that commercial fee. That aspect of it is actually less of an issue than the individual user going to the social media sites or folks going to these professionally pirated sites where they are, putting these sites up for the specific reason of showing pirated content.
Very good. Thank you very much. I yield back, Chairman.